Welcome to my video on netrunning in Cyberpunk 2020. In this series, I'll be breaking down the rules and concepts of netrunning, starting with the topic of data force. I've heard the last video was too long and the audio too bad, so I'll try to improve that here. So at its core, the data fortress is pretty straightforward. It's a dungeon. If you've ever laid out a dungeon in D&D, it should be at home here. But it has a few things that set it apart, so let's go into this. So when starting out, you'll have a blank sheet staring in your face. Rather than starting with your walls, consider starting with what's in the data fortress. Aside from being a dungeon, this is ostensibly the layout of the network of this building. And that's where remotes come in. You don't have to add remotes, mind you. I think most players are comfortable with electronics exist in the building somewhere. These are kind of flare, and maybe you might put them in if you wanted to give some extra protection to these particular things. These are your remotes here. You have your terminal, your camera, microphone, video display, holo display, printer, alarm. This controls door, gate, elevator, manipulator, auto factory, remote vehicle. Some basic remote things you might consider putting in. But like I said, I think most are probably fine with just doing that theater of the mind. So the most important things in a data fortress are the CPU and the memory. This and these. Your memory limits how many programs you can have, and the CPU drives how many actions you can take per net action. A fortress consisting only of walls, a CPU, and 2 memory with other programs is a pretty good fortress. It will give your netrunners a challenge. The memory is where you put the goodies, and maybe they want to attack the CPU and take down the system. Data walls are the next most important thing. And they're designed to keep netrunners and their programs out. Code gates are designed to keep unauthorized things out and authorized things in. If you have the key, you can pass right through. If not, you need to hack it. And we'll cover hacking into a data fortress in another video. Then there's terminals and LDL. These are remotes that might play an important part in your story. Say your netrunner decides to go on site. Maybe the data fortress air gap, then it's the only way in. Terminal is how he might get into the data fortress. Going in through a terminal basically puts you inside the data fortress. What you might want to do in this case is wall off the terminal. Put in a pit bull and a code gate. Why would you do this? Because consider this from the perspective of the company. They want their users to be able to use the system. The terminal is how they use the system. The code gate ensures that only authorized people use the system. You might put the code pitbull on the other side of the code gate, though, to be fair to the player. So this is kind of like a kiosk with a login system. LDLs are a similar thing. An LDL links one system to another. So consider putting walls and gates around it. So an example of that I have right here. So you can see here we have, this is a terminal. You can consider this to be kind of like a public access area, a terminal. In this case, I'm thinking the cab company, So a customer might come in, they might use this kiosk here. It's got a screen so they can see. It's got a printer so they can print off their stuff, and it has control for a remote control car to bring their cab to them. Outside of that, we have a pit bull and a killer settings. Got another code gate here to an LDL to another system. So these two things represent the only ways, aside from breaking through the walls, of getting into the system. And they are protected by code gates. Make sure that nobody's getting in or out bad. Over here, we have some other ways. Now these ones represent like a cluster of computers, a bunch of workstations, essentially. This is where your workers for this company would be. They have a camera watching them, microphones listening to them, of course, an alarm in case something goes wrong and they need to pull an alarm. There's a couple displays here. One of this and this are supposed to be hollow displays. You have the CPU over here. This is your main system. It also has cameras watching it, and an alarm, and microphones. And it's got a pit bull or a bulldog here, and a poison flatline hidden in memory. If your netrunner comes in, they go to check this memory, they might be in for a bad surprise. That's an example of a trap that you might put in place. So these are enemies. They patrol, they look for things that are going wrong. They'll kick them out. In the case of pit bulls, this one and this one are pit bulls, and bulldog will also kick you out. This will kick you out and delete a bunch of stuff on your deck. So, yeah, how about that? And, this is a reasonable kind of thing you might expect of a company, And there's a data wall, there's a code gate right here between the area where the employees are and this main area here. You might have another gate over here if you wanted to separate, or you might move the gate up there to consider that these might be part of the same section. And, that's a pretty simple data fortress. In the next video, we will go into the topic of infiltration. Thanks for watching, and let's dive deeper into the world of netrunning in Cyberpunk 2020.